Hi everybody, welcome to the Deep Thought. My name's Steve, and let's get into today's topic. and Today I want to start things off a little bit differently. I want to start by asking you guys, my viewers, personally, what is your definition of death? Now I know right off the bat that's very heavy for us to talk about, but this is a very important subject for us to touch on because it's something that I believe will help us grow as people. So when I ask you that question, what do you guys think about death? What do you guys believe is going to happen? The modern conception of the idea of dying, from what I understand, seems to be that when we die, because of the whole religious dogma that we've been indoctrinated with, that when we die, two things will happen. This is the popular conception of death. Two things will happen. We will, one, die and go to a place called heaven, which is filled with an abundance of joy, love, happiness, and all these grand things, all these great things that we could imagine today, but don't seem to want to achieve in this lifetime, in this life. But nonetheless, we believe that we will eventually go to a place of love and overall generosity from the eternal and ultimate being himself. Or we can go the opposite direction. We believe that we may end up going to a place called hell, which is a place that is eternal torture, damnation, a fiery pit of nothingness for us to bathe in our own sins with for all eternity, until the end of time, until the end of the universe. You see, so these are the two modern conceptions of death that we have today. We don't believe anything else. We haven't been taught anything else. So, because it's the popular belief, people believe it. When people believe it to this extent, it's really hard to convince people otherwise. Now, me personally, I want to talk about a different stance on the concept of death. Instead of looking at it from either of those two perspectives, either from the perspective that you will be eternally gone forever and ever and ever, but you will end up in one of two places, is not necessarily true. Because when you think about death, when you think about dying, personally, I believe that there is something else. That there is a happening at the present moment of when you die that communicates with the rest of the universe, with the rest of it, yourself, the happening, the cosmos, whatever you want to call it. You can even call it God. But you see, with these popular conceptions of death, we are stunted mentally because we are taught that we should be looking toward a future with death. A dance with death should bring us peace. Because this life means absolutely nothing, and because this life means absolutely nothing, it means that you don't have to do anything in this life as long as you are kind and loving you will go to a place called heaven. You'll be accepted, and there your greatest dreams will come true. Now, obviously, when you think about it from that perspective, you really think to yourself, "Oh, gee, that sounds kind of like a Ponzi scheme. It sounds like a scheme that somebody just made up off the top of their head and people bought into." It's probably because it is. But nonetheless, when we think about death, those are the two alternatives that we think about. We think about dying and going to hell or heaven. Now, when we think about hell in a different perspective, when we think about it from the perspective that instead of when we die, that we go to these other places, that we will go into a different life. We will transform ourselves, our being, into something else. Now, the reason I say that is because when you think about death, when I think about death, I think about our bodies essentially going into the ground within the universe, into the planet that we are on, obviously, going into the universe, and essentially breaking down molecularly. So our bodies are decomposing from the composition material that we are made of. And we will go back into the earth. Now we say, of course, that we are on about 78, 80%, something like that, of water. That is what we are made of, supposedly. So when you think about the idea of dying, you will simply be something to nurture the ground and the universe. You will decompose, break down into the itty bitty bits of material that you are. And then what will happen is the itty bitty bits that you are, I'm using the term bits because I don't want to use waves, because apparently I've confused some people with that terminology, but itty bitty bits, you will break down into these tiny little things, and then you will reattach those tiny little bits of yourselves onto other things. Thus, you will create a new thing. You will become a part of a whole new thing. Now, remember when I say this, because when I say this, it automatically gives you the idea that that's what you're doing right now, because that is what you're doing. There is constantly cells dying within our bodies, on our bodies, but there's also a constant regeneration, or new cells are born constantly, which carry the memories of the old cells. So when you think about death, don't think about it from the perspective of, oh my God, it's going to be horrible, we're going to die in a painful way, such as getting our throat slit from all the films, all the cinema that we watch, all the TV shows that we watch, because that's all true, which it isn't. People have the most ghastly imagination of death in their minds because of everything that we consume. Because we embody what we consume. And what I mean by that is not just by what you eat, you become, but by what your mind consumes, you will also become. So because of this ghastly idea of death being so violent, brutal, and just painful, there is an alternative. You can always look at it from the complete polar opposite direction. Instead of believing that it's going to take you down a path of pain, try to imagine what it's going to be like if it took you down instead a path of recreation, of not just reincarnation, but transformation. And you become a whole new thing. And you don't even realize it. And that brings me up to a very important point. Try to imagine, because this is a type of meditation from my understanding, try to imagine going into sleep, going into unconsciousness, because you're not aware of darkness at this point. When you go to sleep, when you are unconscious in sleep, you're not aware of darkness, you're not aware of anything. The only thing that you are aware of are your dreams, sometimes, and that's it. But try to imagine going to sleep, going into sleep, unaware of darkness or consciousness, and imagine never waking up from it. Because when you think about this thing, when you ponder on this idea, this concept of non-existence, of dying, death, it will be used as a sort of manure for your mind. It will be used as a way to essentially allow your mind to become a field for people or for yourself. It's more specifically to plant seeds into, to become a better you. But sorry, that's beside the point. Imagine going into sleep for always and always and always, forever and ever and ever, for as long as you possibly think that you will be in that sleep. Now imagine, because when you think about that line of questioning, when you think about going to sleep and never waking up, eventually when you start questioning that certain question inside of your mind, you will come to another question, which is the question of, imagine waking up but never remembering that you had ever gone to sleep. Because those are the days that we are born. Those are the days that, a new being comes into existence. Relatively new being comes into existence. Because we believe they're new. But they've probably been here before. In a different way. I've probably been here in a different way. Many times. But you see, we believe these ideas of death that are just so horrible, that are used as a trap to keep people in line, to keep us in a constant state of fear. So that way we never really experience our lives. We never experience the joys in our lives. All of the wonderful opportunities to do everything that we can, and we let them fly by because we're afraid to die. Not realizing that it's not going to be as painful as we really, truly have made it out to be, or that it's going to be as bad as we have all made it out to be, collectively. So, when you think about this, you will come to many other questions, lines of questioning, such as, well, what about the people? What about the people that care about me? They're going to die too. And eventually there will be nobody around that actually believes that your death was truly tragic, and we will move on. It will be, when we die, it will be as if we had never existed at all. So no, maybe a couple thousand years from now, just like the Egyptian language has been lost, the English language will be lost, the history of the Roman Empire will be lost. And we won't remember any of it. It will be as if we had never existed at all. And we'll never know. Now, I know some people that probably watch this video right now are thrown for a loop. You probably believe this is a fallacy. This is just ignorance at its finest, but you've also been taught to only believe a certain way. I have been taught to believe a certain way. We've all been taught to believe a certain way and not to question it because of the authority. So start questioning it. Start asking yourself these questions, especially the one about going to sleep and never waking up, and then waking up not remembering you had ever gone to sleep. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this short little video. If you guys have any comments, questions, anything like that, leave them in the comment section below. Let's talk about these things, enjoy ourselves with the conversations as well. Share it with your friends. Let's bring about some awareness, and I will catch you guys later. Bye guys, take care.